Hey guys, I won.
Oh. Yeah, so the Oscars just happened and we, had our little bet on the line. We will reveal what Jamie won, but she did win.
It was so close.
It was close.
It came down to Best Picture.
Oh, man. So
we were neck and neck like the whole time.
So
I thought you were going to win for sure.
I actually got out to a lead because
you did at the beginning.
At the beginning, because the first, I think, upset that didn't go according to script was Flo winning.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I had picked Flo. Now it was a mild upset because they were pretty neck and neck. But
I would agree.
You went with Wild Robot. I went with Flo. How did you feel about the win?
Great.
Okay,
honestly, I liked
happy.
Flo more anyway, so I wasn't mad. But I was just surprised. I think.
Yeah, it was.
I thought it was a better movie.
I agree, and so I kind of went with what I preferred.
Yeah.
And I mean,
it worked.
Wild Robot had. It was cleaning up on a lot of the guilds and all that kind of stuff. Big budget, DreamWorks, a lot of love behind it. So I thought I had lost that. But it paid off. So I got out to a little lead, and then you kept tying it, and I would go up by one, you would tie it. It kind of went back and forth like that.
Mm-hmm.
I will say we did really good, even though, neither of us really swept in all these categories.
No.
But between the two of us, we got every category right except for
Doc.
two. Except for Doc.
What was the other one?
And Best Actress.
That's right.
Yeah, so we both went with Demi Moore.
Surprise.
Yeah, what did you think?
About her winning?
So we both had Demi Moore winning, which we thought was like a lock.
I thought it was a shoo-in for sure.
And now, at BAFTA, Mikey Madison had won. So that was kind of like a ooh.
But a lot of things won in the BAFTAs.
Yeah, that's true. Like Conclave had a big night, which it didn't last night.
Right.
But Demi Moore won at SAG. So I thought surely we're back on the Demi bandwagon thing.
I know.
And she was great. She deserves it and all this kind of stuff. But when it was Mikey Madison, I was shocked.
Yeah.
I really thought Demi had it in the bag.
It's also kind of funny because the commentary about the substance
I know.
being what it was.
Isn't that such a kick? I mean, kicking her while she's down in a way. Like she's putting herself out there.
She did come home with a lot of awards though.
Yeah,
so
that's true.
Maybe she's okay.
But it's like, oh yeah, here we go. You give it to the young, up and coming, beautiful actress.
She's still
she was good.
She still was good, right?
She deserved it.
Yeah.
But I was really rooting for Demi. I think we both were. So that one we got wrong. A lot of people probably busted up a lot of people's different picks. But otherwise, we got everything else right between the two of us.
I know. I was like, maybe either the Academy is getting more predictable, or we're that good.
I do think it was fairly predictable.
Yeah.
Fine. Even with Doc, we'll talk about that for a sec. I had seen 3 out of the 5. The 2 I hadn't seen was Northern Language 1 and Porcelain War.
Which that was my second guess.
Yes,
because both Porcelain War and No Other Land are the most politically charged.
Yes.
So those made the most sense.
And oftentimes the documentary is about whatever the current crisis is.
Very much so.
I picked Black Box Diaries, which was still great. I would still recommend you guys watch it.
I still want to watch it.
Yeah. But that was so 4 years ago or 3 years ago, And that's kind of seems to be the thing.
The Me Too movement isn't relevant anymore.
I know. It's so
terrible.
It's kind of terrible, but it's true. I mean, Mariupol won last year, I think, right? Was it last year or 2 years ago? Yeah. So that was again the current issue.
My Octopus Teacher won, and that wasn't political. Oh, I guess it was a little bit environmentalist, but
at the time,
for the most part, it wasn't.
It's not always,
political.
I guess, but if there is one that is really on the nose on that issue at the time,
true.
Yeah, then that kind of ends up trumping everything else. And it was a little bit are they gonna? I was thinking maybe the Academy might not give it to No Other Land because they don't want to make it a big political moment with the acceptance speech, which it did kind of become.
But that speech was good.
It was good. And
he did a good job.
And even though I haven't seen it, I do think just the idea, what makes it the most compelling and feels still different is that it was a joint venture between,
Yes.
Palestinian and
Israeli, yeah.
journalists. So I think that kind of messaging and the both of them being up there, like that was powerful
Strong,
and
yeah.
important. Yeah.
I agree.
So the other one that I thought this kind of might have played a factor was also in Best Foreign Film. Best
right.
International Feature. And so I had picked Sigue de Sacred Fig
Right.
because that was also a politically charged kind of issue happening in Iran.
Yes.
But that also was from a few years ago. And so I think this kind of whole, like, it takes time to have a story that's happening currently, develop it, write it, cast it, shoot it, all that, edit it, and finally get it out.
Yeah.
That documentaries might seem like, oh, you can get that done faster and it's like hitting at the right time.
Yeah.
Whereas a feature, it's like kind of delayed. And then so I think the power of what Sigue de Sacred Fig was doing is a couple years late.
And honestly, too, the power of marketing. Like, I feel like that movie was not marketed very much.
Yeah.
And I know that they have to watch it to vote on it. But I feel like the same thing happened to Sing Sing. Like, I feel like that movie kind of got buried because maybe it wasn't politically relevant enough, but also the marketing wasn't there.
Yeah.
So people weren't watching it, or I don't know.
Yeah.
But
now
sad.
Yeah, I will say, I'm Still Here is a good movie and it's enjoyable. I'm just glad that Emilia Perez didn't win.
Right. That would have been awkward.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think that whole, is Emilia Perez going to potentially win Best Picture? Which I think, leading into it, but within the past month, it was pretty clear it wasn't going to.
Yeah.
But there was always a risk of that happening. But even in international feature, there's just much more diverse-serving movies. It did win El Mal,
which
Emilia Perez.
Yep.
And Zoe won.
Yep.
So how did you feel about those moments?
I think I just decided those were shoo-ins, It's not like I was necessarily... I still really like Zoe Saldana and her performance. And honestly, I think if the movie had been about her, like if she had been the lead instead, the movie might have been more nuanced, complicated, interesting.
I agree. That would have been good.
Because they kind of shifted away from her breaking into Act 2, it felt the movie, it became very messy and disjointed. So they should have just stuck to one protagonist. I think she did a great job though.
Yeah.
Her speech was a little weird, but
yeah, it was very
she's just
emotional.
a passionate woman.
Yeah. It was great. It was a great moment for her, right? Yeah. I think there's a lot of respect for her. I respect her a lot as an actress. And so there was a lot of momentum of we want to honor her.
Yeah.
She's kind of paid her dues in a way. But man, Ariana Grande would have been so good. That would have been such a
crazy.
Good moment. And
I wonder what she would have said.
Man, but even her kicking off the show was so good.
It was a very epic beginning.
Yeah, with her and Cynthia Erivo, the two of them were so good, and
I loved that they paid homage to the original Wizard of Oz, and then The Wiz,
Over the Rainbow, and
then finally Wicked. It was really cool that they kind of showed the whole journey, and not just a Wicked montage or something,
like the James Bond journey that they did.
That was weird. That was a waste of time. I'm not gonna waste your time.
Yeah, so what'd you think of Conan? How did he do?
He was so funny. I think he's one of the best hosts, maybe.
He
his whole thing is self-deprecating humor, right? And I think he just does that so well.
He does.
But then he's also not afraid to say things that are kind of edgy.
Yeah.
Which he definitely also did.
Yeah. His whole burn on Trump, and why Anora was doing well, because it's about someone standing up to the Russians. And that was probably the best joke of the night for me. It was so good.
And then the Gascon joke.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. And the fact that as he was going down the list in the opening monologue roasting people, and I was like, oh, is he going to mention, Carla and Emilia Perez, and he totally went just right for it, and then did a whole thing about him being Jimmy Kimmel that she can tweet out, so that was... And
then all the firefighters doing his jokes for him, and then finally ending it with a mean joke about Conan.
Yeah, it was...
As per usual.
He did do really well. I did feel like in the opening monologue, he seemed really nervous to me.
A little bit.
He seemed a little uneven, like in his delivery. He seemed a little like kind of as he's
jittery.
like as he's walking around, he's kind of like, oh yeah, this means I'm in control, you know. But it just seemed like he realized that he's just kind of like pacing. And I mean, this has been a big kind
Conan
of
walk.
Yeah, moment that's been built up for him, right? Never having hosted Oscars, among all the other things he's done. It's kind of crazy that it's now happening. But as the night went on, like every time it would cut to him, he just had like some really great little thing that was so good.
I did also. It was so random, but the whole Adam Sandler thing.
Oh, you did like that?
That was quite funny, only because Adam Sandler like really committed to the bit.
Yeah, which is great. And we haven't seen him play that kind of character in a while. And I think it's, because Happy Gilmore's coming out this year.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Happy Gilmore 2 is coming out. So I think it was
it was advertisement for that?
Yeah, advertisement for that, I think.
Wow.
Classic Sandler. So that was good.
Him going up to Chalamet and just being like, Chalamet! And then running away.
Yeah. Another classic person from that era who, still relevant, obviously, but Ben Stiller and him presenting for production design.
It was so funny.
That was so good with the stage malfunction. And he kept like popping up and, it felt like kind of classic Ben Stiller from that 90s, like Adam Sandler type of era of comedy. So that was really good.
There were a lot of laughing moments. I even thought Bowen Yang's jokes about costume design were really funny.
He was actually really good.
He was funny.
And I also thought it was kind of cool that they actually had actors from the movie come out.
That was cool.
And then kind of give a nod to each of the people in their movies. And because they're actors, like I thought it was like really well, delivered. And the other big thing, obviously, is the win for Anora. It picked up almost all the major awards.
Crazy.
Now, Sean Baker won 4 Oscars in one night for writing, editing, directing, producing, and he also now is only the second person in Oscar history to have won that many Oscars in one night. The first person was Walt Disney.
What year?
Disney, yeah.
Do you know what year?
I don't know.
A long time ago?
Yeah, a long time ago. A really long time. And so, okay, here's my thing, right? Anora was a good movie.
Yeah.
It was a good movie. I still think The Brutalist deserved it more as Best Picture. I do think many years from now, people are going to look back and look at this year when Anora won Best Picture. Yet we're going to probably still be dissecting and studying like The Brutalist as a masterwork. Not that I thought it was a perfect movie.
Right.
But it was just so impressive, so ambitious. It had so many things to unpack. I'm still thinking about all the different things in that movie. It's 3.5 hours long. Still doesn't feel like it. I almost felt like Anora didn't feel long, but it felt similar. Even though Anora was like probably like an hour or whatever shorter.
Yeah.
And I don't know, Anora's like a small movie.
Very indie.
Yeah, very indie. So, and the fact that Sean Baker is now going to go down in history as one of the most winningest Oscar winners alongside a team, a club of him and Walt Disney.
Yeah.
I don't know how I feel about that, I guess. Like, when you do everything yourself, like you're gonna get all the awards for yourself, I
right?
Guess so, yeah. I mean, I did think it was well written for sure. Screenplay, think it was great. Yeah, I think the directing was also very good. Editing, I don't know if I agree that it was the best edited movie. I think like Conclave was much more like the timing of everything. Yeah, it was just all the multiple storylines you got going on. It was like
Conclave
really
only won 2 things, right?
I think it only won one thing.
It only won writing?
Adapted, I think.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Which is crazy.
I mean, when I saw it in theaters, I was like, this is going to win writing. This is going to win screenplay.
But
sure.
Score was great. But the Brutalist score was also really good.
Brutalist score was better, yeah.
So, I
think you're right. I think like film students are going to study Brutalist.
Yeah.
They're not going to study Anora. Yeah, I think you're probably right.
But I will say, Sean Baker, man, like you gotta like the guy, right? Because he goes up 4 times. The third time going up, and he just dedicates the whole speech to, we need to go back to the theaters.
Yeah.
And I was like, yes, preach it, brother. You know, it was
go back to the movie theater.
Yeah, it was such a good moment of like, you know, screens are like going away, 1,000 closed last year and all this stuff. And
I know you don't normally watch the Oscars anymore, but they do make that speech every year.
Okay.
They made it last year.
He did it in a way that really, you know, tugged on my heartstrings. Almost had a tear to my eye. But it was
something I'm passionate about.
It was very touching. And I think the other big winner tonight was independent cinema, right? Because you had Flow, which it was made for $3.6 million.
Wow.
3.6 million. The first movie ever to win an Oscar from Latvia,
yes.
Right? And made by a total team of like 15, I think.
Something like that.
Yeah.
And they were all producers.
Yeah, up against The Wild Robot, which was made for $78 million by DreamWorks. That was such a massive win. I was so proud of like the Academy of like awarding the movie like Flow over The Wild Robot. So that was awesome. But also even like Anora winning, like it's an independent film. It was made for only $6 million. So that's insane, right? Like a movie made for $6 million, directed, edited, all you know, by the same person and sweeping on all those categories. Like that's very impressive. And I think that that's so inspiring that I think that's important. It's important to award a movie at least like that.
And I think the Academy's like been doing that for a while. Like they really want to push indie filmmakers into like continuing their work because they're never going to make enough back maybe from the box office because there's just not enough push to watch it. But usually the indie movies are or can be the most artistic because they're working with so little.
Yeah. So I did go back because I was curious about that. I was like, is this something that is just an intentional decision that's been made over the past few years?
Yeah.
Now, the outlier is Oppenheimer. Oppenheimer last year was $100 million budget, right? And Nolan, you know, that was a really big, you know, studio movie and all that. But I guess
completely forgot.
Yeah. But it's also Nolan. So Nolan he's one of those filmmakers who can do a massive studio, big budget, like The Dark Knight,
and still make it artistic,
and still make it feel like we're not selling out, right?
That's
for the
true.
art.
Yeah.
So maybe he's the exception, but before him, Everything Everywhere All at Once, 25 million. Yep. Now 25 million, as I went back like the last 10 years, is still on the higher end, but it was still like an independent type of movie, right?
Yeah.
Now it did win over like Avatar, The Way of Water, right?
Right.
So
it also beat Top Gun Maverick, which was probably a huge budget.
Which was huge. And it made a lot of money. The year before that, Coda, right? 10 million.
Indie.
Won over Dune. The first one, right? And so, that's Indie. No, the year before that, Nomadland, $5 million.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yep. There's a push.
Yeah, so it just seems like, and then Parasite the year before that, 13 million. Now that's an international film, and you know, it was a big production from like Korea standard, I guess.
Yeah.
But like, you know, still 13 million. It's not that much compared to other movies.
And then, it doesn't feel like a big budget movie when you watch it.
So, you know, I think in that sense, Anora, 6 million, independent filmmaker, kind of highlighting that. Like, that's a really good moment. It's an important moment. But The Brutalist was only made for 10 million too.
Wow, that's insane.
Which is insane, right?
And I think, like, genuinely, it would have won if it weren't for the controversy. I truly believe that. Okay. Because really, the turning of the tide happened in between, like, the Golden Globe Critics' Choice.
Well, at Critics' Choice, though...
Didn't Brutalist win?
No, Anora won at Critics' Choice.
Oh.
But it was the same weekend.
Okay, well, they won Golden Globe, and they won something else. I can't remember what the other award was.
I forget. But
anyway.
But Anora won Critics' Choice, and I think it was the same weekend that they won at the PGA and the DGA, Producers and Directors Guilds.
Okay.
And that's kind of what, like, really put it in the front running.
Yeah.
But, yeah, maybe you're right that it was the controversy. But at the same time, Adrian Brody won. They still gave him his Oscar. They still gave him his Oscar. And he was, you know, involved in some of the AI controversy.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting that they chose Timothy for the SAG because that's more directly tied to, you know, a possible strike situation. Like, they were maybe more hesitant to give it to Adrian Brody because of that. So they gave it to Timothy, but then the Academy is less worried about it. I don't know.
Maybe.
I don't know. I'm not in that world.
Yeah.
But that would be my guess.
Yeah, so I do think Anora winning is a really good message about supporting independent filmmaking. And I think along with that, one of my favorite bits that Conan did was CinemaStreams. And so, you had the whole like, oh, we have streaming on our little screens and our TVs, but now we have a new thing where we can stream in a dedicated building. And he has
but I can't control it.
Yeah. It's like, how do you turn it on? Well, we turn it on for you. You just sit there and enjoy. So
that was funny.
Yeah, I thought that was great. And so to me, the theme I kind of take away is, hey, let's support theaters.
Yeah.
Let's support independent filmmaking. Let's just reignite kind of the love and the passion for cinema and movies. And so I left a nice warm feeling inside at the end of the night, I think.
Aw, yeah. That's sweet. Even though you lost.
Even though I lost. Okay. So what do I lose? So we
made a bet.
Yep.
Off camera.
And if I won, I was going to say that I was going to be able to pick 4 movies that Jamie would have to watch and review on the pod.
Yep. But if I won, Albert has to read a book, which he has not read a book in how many years?
Oh my gosh. Especially fiction? I don't know.
15 years, 20 years,
Because here's the thing, in the time that it takes to read one book, I could watch like 10
4
movies or 4 movies. Yeah. I mean, I'm also a really slow reader.
But I get to pick the book, which is a great power. In fact, my friends have recommended what books I should read.
Oh, no.
One friend said I should make you read, I actually don't know how to pronounce this, The Brothers Karamazov.
Oh.
You heard of it?
No, but it sounds kind of boring.
It's 796 pages.
Oh, no.
And then another friend suggested I make you read Brandon Sanderson's new book, The Wind and Truth, which is 1,300 pages.
Oh, no. At that point, just make me read Dune.
But also, that's the 4th book in the series, so I'm not going to do that to you.
Oh.
And then, yes, the 3rd recommendation was to read Dune.
Oh, gosh.
Which is another long book.
Are you really going to pick one of these long books?
He's getting so
scared. No.
He's sweating. No, I've decided I'm going to make you read Red Rising by Pierce Brown.
Okay.
That's the official pick.
Okay.
I've been set on it for a long time.
Which is a sci-fi genre?
It's sci-fi.
I love sci-fi.
I think it's less than 400 pages.
Ooh. Thank you, Jamie.
Yeah. I hope you like it. It is the first book in a series, so if you really like it...
I am under no contractual obligation to read past the first movie, the first book.
Correct.
Okay.
But it has not been adapted into anything.
Oh, so maybe...
no movie, no TV show, but yes, maybe.
Maybe it will become adapted, and then it'll actually play a role in how I...
Yeah, and then you'll be like, the book was better.
Yeah. I can become one of those people who's always like walks out of a movie and like, oh, the book was better. The book was so much better. Maybe that's why I refuse to read books. I think it's a books versus movies thing,
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
We'll have to update you on his progress.
Oh, my gosh. Maybe,
we gotta hold you accountable.
Maybe I have to finish before next year's Oscars.
Ooh, okay, I like that. That's a good deadline.
Okay. Do I have to read a physical copy or can I also do audiobook?
I'll let you do an audiobook.
Okay. I don't even know how to do that. How do I do the audiobook?
I'm gonna open your world. It's gonna change your life. We're gonna get you a library card.
Man. Okay, well, thank you for making me read 1,000-page book. But yeah, thank you for watching.
You can follow us on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or Letterboxd to see our reviews.
And see you next episode as we continue our quest for the 5th star.